Welcome to the first of its kind on high ticket sales YouTube. So behind me, you can see a live sales call recording of me closing a $30,000 deal for a B2B coaching company that I used to work for. Now, before we get into things, I want to give you a bit of context on the actual call recording itself so you can understand where I'm coming from and why I'm operating the call in the way that I'm operating it, as well as provide you some context on how the call actually ends, so you can get the most value and so you can learn lots from watching in its entirety. So this call recording was selling for a B2B coaching company which helps tradesmen grow and scale and systematize their business. Have more profit, work less hours, hire more team, and basically just help them grow their business. Now, this call recording is not your typical B2C $5,000 sale, which you can see some of those call recordings on my YouTube channel live as well. If you want to check those out, you can after this video. But this is with a prospect who already makes a couple $100,000 a month, a lot more sophisticated, a lot more successful. And so I think there's a lot that you can take away from this call recording. There's lots you can learn. And even if you've been in the space for a while, there's a lot that you're going to be able to learn from this call recording. And if you're looking to get into the space, there's lots you can kind of see of like what it actually looks like, real time, live, actually doing the skill set, like actually working this career. And you'll see it's not overcomplicated, it's not too fancy, it's not too advanced, because the way that I teach sales, especially to beginners, is in its most simplest form. And often simplicity sells a lot better. And you're going to see quite how simple it can be to learn this skill set, to where I don't even think I was been on this offer for more than 30, 60, 90 days, right? And the way I present myself on the call as an expert, as a go-to authority. And this guy went from, hey, what's up, hello, to handing me $30,000. The only other context I wanted to provide before I post in the clip is before this sales call, I had a triage call with this lead. So I'd already spoken to him for 10 to 15 minutes on the phone about his goals, whether or not we can help, and just some basic qualification criteria. And that's where we're speaking on this second next call, just so you have a bit of context there. And at the end, the prospect was in a situation where he left his car details in his car that was unfortunately in for service. But we actually got some micro commitment and some minor onboarding details. And then he actually closed at the end of the day, and we still had a follow-up call for around 4 or 5 p.m. later on that day, and ended up closing and following through. So, bit of an iffy situation, but we ended up closing it. And yeah, I think you guys are going to learn a lot from this clip. There's a lot of value in it, and hopefully you guys enjoy.
Hi, this is Cody.
Cody, brother, it's just Connor from the Game Changers. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. I've opened the Zoom room for about 11 minutes, but you didn't make it in there. Did something come up?
Yeah, no, I just don't know how to use Zoom.
Okay, that's all right. You've been trying for the past 11 minutes.
Yeah. And I've got the internet's just dropped. They've turned the power off at our office, so I've got no internet at the moment either. I only got my phone, and it's in and out at the moment. So.
Okay, is the phone in and out as well?
The phone's working fine, but just the internet's in and out. That's all.
Okay. All right. Well,
sorry, mate. I've been trying. I just don't know how to use it.
Yeah. No, that's not an issue, brother, at all. Look, I guess it is 12 minutes over our time. I'm just not quite sure if 48 minutes will be long enough. Look, I think I can make it work. Look, if you want to just do it over the phone, we can do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Let me just plug my earphones in. We'll kind of get started going through it. All right. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep, I can hear you fine. You there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm just over here being the boring business guy, trying to figure things out. You know how it is. But yeah, so I mean, it looks like obviously we booked a call from having a previous conversation before, just about possibly looking for some ways to, systemize the business in terms of the profit and, the invoicing structures, but also keep staff and grow the business by getting the right team and building out that way, right? Now, did you get a chance to go through the assessment I sent through? I think you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Awesome. How did you go with that? How did you go through looking at your business through, I guess, like a different perspective.
Yeah, we don't really have a lot of the systems and stuff that was in there. We don't have any of them, to be perfectly honest. So that's probably not real good.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense. And I guess, did you go through any of the testimonials or case studies, anything like that?
Yeah, I listened to a few of those. They sounded pretty good. And I've been listening to a couple of podcasts, and I read a few pages of Barry's book.
Okay. Perfect. Did the book bore you?
No, I was quite interested. I don't read it very often, so give me another couple of days, and I might not be into it, but at the moment it's all right. Yeah.
No. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. So look, I think just a bit of a recap of kind of what we spoke about, right? So you mentioned that, at the moment, the biggest thing for you right now is really like as you've scaled up, since Christmas, you have 20 staff that's left, right?
Yep.
And so as a business that's doing, you mentioned you're about 350K in gross at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you're doing that, every single month and you're having staff going in and out, I think you mentioned, it was causing, problems with profits. You're going to hire new staff. There's costs with that. And with high levels of staff turnover, it's just impossible to scale because you're just going to scale at chaos. Does that make sense?
That's what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. Right. So look, I think that'll make sense to me. So just so I can maybe see the rationale, right? But I guess why do you think you might be, possibly looking for like a step-by-step, skills and, some outside help and some training, rather than just, maybe trying to figure this out on your own and trying to scale up the way that you've been doing it?
Because it's not working the way that I've been doing it, basically. Yeah. And I thought I'd just reach out, and I've never really even I didn't even realise there was things like this until I bumped the Barry's thing on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it was. And then I thought I might as well. Well, there's no harm in trying something different. So.
Yeah, and I guess you don't know what you don't know, right?
No.
Yep. And I think that's good, man, because I really enjoy working with people and business owners that are making that transition from having problems to owning problems, right?
Yep.
And taking the leap of transitioning to the CEO. And it's scary for a lot. It's a great thing to see when people make that transition from having a business run you, people leaving you, and actually running the business, right? You know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. So just to kind of check in, you mentioned when we last spoke, did you say you were working about 18 to 20 hours per day?
No, probably 12 to 14, realistic. Okay. Sometimes I'll do 18, but that's not very often.
Okay, so about 12 to 14 per day.
Yep.
And you mentioned you might be working some weekends, some not?
Yeah, I always have Sunday off.
Okay, good.
But I'll work most Saturdays.
Okay, so you're working most Saturdays. So we're really looking about, so you're working about 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right. So you're working about 70 to 72 hours a week.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, is it like without kind of moving the business forward, when staff leave and the attrition rate goes up, does it feel like kind of being on like a bit of a hamster wheel?
Yeah. It is. I don't mind doing it. Out of the hour. I'm not worried about doing hours and stuff like that. There's me and my wife, and she works fairly big hours in her business as well.
Yeah.
So it's not really affecting anything there. It just gets frustrating having to retrain guys all the time and not being able to do what I should be doing, where like running things and making sure everything's happening properly frustrates where I should be able to do that, but I'm on the tools and in and out of trucks and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying for sure. And I guess, so, I mean, at the moment you're doing gross, it was, 350K.
Yeah.
Like how much profit are you making from that, like every month?
Normally I would be about 50 grand roundabout. Okay. But since Christmas, it's been nowhere near that. We've been just sort of breaking even 10 grand, 5 grand, thereabouts.
Okay.
A lot of that's to do with the weather. Like it's just been the rain's been so bad, we just haven't been able to work.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Like you can't put all that down to staffing and stuff when you just physically can't get it on the jobs because it's too wet. So
that's absolutely true. But I guess at the end of the day, like it's not your fault, but at the end of the day, it's your problem as a business owner, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, we got to kind of focus on what we can control and, not what we can't. So at the end of the day, that it is an element, the weather and things like that, but we kind of got to focus on, staff turnover, like profit maximization, systemization, so we can get you up the tools and focus on growing the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So before you started talking with me, you mentioned before that, you hadn't really looked into this kind of stuff beforehand. It kind of really popped up. So were you out there looking for different ways so that you could work, less hours, make more money, systemize the business, and help with a bit of the team attrition rate? Or what have you really been doing about systemizing the business?
We've sort of systemized it a little bit. We have a guy that does most of our estimating. Mm-hmm. Have regular meetings and make sure all that sort of stuff is going to plan. Yeah. We have an office manager, and then she has a staff member underneath her as well that she manages all the invoicing and all of that sort of stuff and all the quotes to make sure that they're getting quoted. We have a bit of a system where everything that comes in has to be quoted within 5 days. If it's under a $10,000 project, anything bigger than that, we give ourselves 2 weeks to price it, just so you can get subbies if you have them to get back to us and all of that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's our system there, and then the girls have a way of checking that invoices come in. They just refer that with our calendar and then make sure that all that happens, and they use MyOb for all of our invoicing, things like that.
Okay. And I guess, have you ever got some outside help for some coaching, like you mentioned?
No.
You mentioned you haven't really seen it. Well, what's maybe prevented you in the past, do you think?
I didn't even know there was coaching that did this. I had no idea.
Okay. Just don't know what you don't know. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, my old man had run the business for 30 years by himself.
Yeah.
And he never had any help at all. And I've heard from him, and I guess I've just learned what he's taught me.
Yeah.
And he's always heavily involved in the business. When we were kids, he'd only ever be able to have a week off at a time, and we were never allowed to leave Australia because he always had to have his phone on him at all times and all of that sort of thing. So it's just the way I've always seen it done. So that's the way I've done it, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to start changing that?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's do this, just to make sure that, what we're doing actually will work for you, right? But besides, obviously, we talked about the problems like, staff attrition rate and, some of the profits and things like that. What are you ideally looking for in some training and some coaching to actually help you get the ball rolling with the business, grow some momentum, have that growth you're looking for, and actually kind of get to where you want to go? What do you feel like would be, I'm not really sure of the word, maybe your ideal criteria, do you think?
I'd like to learn how to keep staff happy and make sure that they're enjoying their job, where at the moment I think I struggle with that a little bit because I'm not really a people person, if that makes sense to you.
I understand that.
I can get in and get the job done and all that sort of stuff, and I can explain to people how to do the job, but when it comes to dealing with staff members' feelings and all of that sort of thing, I'm not very good at dealing with that.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the main things, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I suppose that's probably the main one at the moment, because staffing is our biggest issue. I've got the work, we're booked out further than we should be. We've got the work to get to be able to do. We just don't have the staff members to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I guess
I suppose I need to grow with that. I guess I need to learn how to do that and how to be able to step away and look at where we need to go and what we need to do next and all that sort of stuff, where I just haven't had time to look at any of that. I just sort of make decisions day to day rather than looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think, is it good to kind of pull the head out of the sand for a minute and start looking at the business from that lens, and I guess kind of making that transition, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, we kind of want to work on systems for the business that you can put into where the attrition rate's lower, or you can actually keep staff, make sure they're happy.
Yeah.
Right. But also learn how to be a leader, right? At the end of the day, how to lead your staff, how to, get them to follow your culture, your vision with the business, right? Yeah. And like you mentioned, with the form that you looked before, right? There's systems that are missing within what you kind of looked at there, and that's very common, right? Especially at your level, right? This is what we find is very common. There's a new level of mindset that's required to get to where you want to go, right? It goes from, working instead of in the business and on it and becoming that leader and that CEO, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So when it comes to, let's say you're able to, come in. So you mentioned you wanted to go from 350 to 500,000 per month. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So with, I guess, what you're doing right now, where do you want the profit to ideally be per month?
Around the $100,000 mark or a bit
Okay.
more. Good.
Yeah.
I like about 20%. I don't know what that works out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is where I would like it to be, 20 to 25.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, I mean, let's say you're able to come in, right, get the right systems in the business to get the right coaching, to the point where, you don't do the things where you've been doing it, right, but you actually get the right things in place so that you can scale. You hit those numbers, maybe work a little bit less hours, God forbid you spend some time with the family, right?
Yeah.
And you actually start doing that. Like, how do you think things might be different than they are now if you're able to, double the money, more profits, less hours, right, and actually keep, team on staff, do you think?
Yeah. What do I think would be different? Is that your question?
Yeah.
We'd be able to move in different directions and grow the business in different ways. I've got a couple of ideas that are different avenues that I would like to try out, and at the moment we don't have the money or staff to be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess, what about you personally, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, when it comes to these kind of businesses, you take that stuff home with you. And like you mentioned with your dad as well, like, God forbid he takes a holiday, right? You've got to be on his phone, he only gets a week off a year, right? Like, what would be different personally, do you think, if you're able to kind of make those changes?
I'd like to be able to have one day off a week would be the ultimate goal, but one day off a fortnight where I could wear 4-day weeks would be good. My wife's currently pregnant, so we're having a baby closer towards the end of the year, so I'd like to be able to spend her a rest because she owns her own business as well, so it'd be good to be able to break it up a little bit so we can both 4-day weeks to try and make it easier on her and that sort of thing. And I'd like to be able to take a couple of weeks holiday now and again whenever I need to. Would be good.
Yeah. Is that your first kid?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, wow, dude, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big step, man. That's becoming a father. I think it's a big step for a lot of the guys in the team, and that's really cool to have, because, I mean, at the end of the day, what would happen potentially if you weren't able to have that right time to be around when the kid comes, though?
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm going to have to make that happen because we were, that's what happened. Dad worked right up until I was born, and then actually while I was being born, Dad was getting a truck unbogged.
Yeah.
While Mum was in labour.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I'm the oldest son too, so that was the first one, and he missed half the labour, and then he made it back for when I was actually born. I mean, he only had the weekend off, and he was back at work straight away. I'd like to be able to have a fair bit of time off when the baby does get here, and then be able to have time off whenever I need to be able to help out and do things like that.
I mean, if you're able to do that, brother, I mean, how would it make you feel to be able to do that?
Good. Feel good. Yeah, really good. I'd like to have a bit of freedom would be the ultimate thing, I suppose. Yeah,
absolutely. And so, I mean, nose to the grindstone, you're going to double your hours to double the profit, right? If you have the systems in right now, at the moment, you're only working 12 to 14 hours, right?
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse the more hours you work and the more things you try to do without the right systems. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, with the systems and the things you have in place in the business now, like, realistically, how close do you feel like you are to being able to allocate those hours, when the child comes around, when your first child's born with your wife? How close do you feel like you are able to having that flexibility and having those hours and, the type of profit and consistency to do that?
I think I'd be able to offload the hours. Probably not too bad. in training a new general manager at the moment to be able to move into that, or general manager, supervisor kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping within the next 6 months he should be almost ready to go, or ready to go enough to give me a bit of relief when I need it.
Yeah.
As far as the profits go, that comes down to staffing. If I can get the staff, I think I'd be able to scale that up relatively quickly.
Yeah. Okay. But you need to hold the staff, right? And I guess with the general manager as well, like what if you don't have the right systems to keep him to where he's around in the next 6 months to do that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I guess, I mean, what's really going to happen if, in the next couple months like 6 to 12 months,
Yep.
you don't have the right systems in the business to keep the team, grow the team, have a general manager in place to do that, and you're just stuck in kind of doing the same thing that, like you mentioned, with your father, you just don't have the time to be around. Like what would happen then?
Nothing I can really do about it. I suppose I just have to keep working to make it happen.
Are you willing to settle for that?
No, not really. That's why I'm hoping you guys can help me.
Okay. Sounds good. And I guess to you though, I mean, whose choice is it if you kind of settle with that outcome or not?
I guess it's only really my choice.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's what I need to hear, man, because I think that, what we're doing actually would work for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because how you said, at the moment, there's a lot of attrition rate in the business. You can't attract the right team, the right staff and keep them, right?
Yeah.
And that you're too busy working in the business to actually work on growing it, to actually make more money. And because of that, it's causing you to feel, I think you mentioned, just a little bit of stuck sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I can do is I can kind of just go through on exactly, what you would need to do to actually get you out of that. So you could build the right systems so that in the next couple months, you have everything you need to put yourself in the position to go ahead and make sure that you have the time to allocate to that new stage of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will that help you?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So the training program I think would be the best for you right now, man, is that Opulence training program, right? So it's a 12-month coaching training, right? And the cost of it for 12 months is $30K. And what we do is we break that up into $2,500 over 12 months, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a couple of things that you kind of are going to need to actually get to where you want to go based off kind of what you mentioned with the systems and things like that, okay? Mm-hmm. So you know how you mentioned at the moment, you kind of, working about 12 to 14 hours per day, right? 72 hours per week, right? And because you're so involved in the business, right, it's very easy to become more of an employee working in the business and less of an actual over-the-top business owner that controls, manages, and changes things, right?
Yeah.
So, look, the first thing that we need to do is pillar one is really about the wheel, right? So we need to give you pre-done drop and deploy systems and templates that kind of go in the business to help with these team issues, with the teething issues, with the grow issues, right? We don't need you to reinvent the wheel because it rolls just as fine as it is. So we've actually created a catalog of done for you drop and deploy systems that are actually designed to work with your business, right? Because how you said at the moment, you just don't have the right systems. You've just learned from your dad is when he just tried to figure out on his own, right? We've got, hundreds of thousands of clients, right, that have all done the same thing in all different, kind of industries, right, specifically in trades. So we just give you what already works and we put it inside the business so you can actually continue to grow and scale up, but not spend, countless money or hours, time just figuring it out on your own. Does that make sense? Okay, so the second thing you're going to need is really the roadmap. Okay, so what we basically do is we get you a step-by-step plan on how to actually use your templates and your systems, right? So at the end of the day, we're the navigator, but you're the guy that's driving the car, right? So we know that what's going to be around the next bend. As you scale to, a few mil and so on and so on, the reason we do that is we kind of just speed up implementation, right? Because I want to figure out how you can alleviate 10 to 12 hours per week immediately, right? I want to figure out, where are the tasks, where are the missing things, because the growth and all that kind of stuff is going to be inevitable, but we want to mitigate the inevitable teething issues that, kind of happen when you grow and scale, right? Because you know how you said, again, same thing, like when you're so involved in the business, it's so hard to work on it, right? Especially if you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next thing is we have the portal, right? So we have a lot of stuff to go through in the portal. What we don't want for you is to be spending like 3 hours a day in a portal, like pretending to be busy and doing work, right? This is why a key component of the roadmap and the breakdown is what videos and trainings are the most relevant to you right now, right? Because I think we're on the same page that, this is all about you having more time, when the kid comes around, right? When your first child's born, right? But also so you can grow the business and stop losing staff. So it's going to cost you, God knows how much money, even 20 staff from December, right? With training, all that other kind of stuff. Do you see how that works?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the last thing that you're really going to need is the accountability, the coaching, the mentorship, right? So like you mentioned before, like when your dad was trying to do it on his own, it's tough. It's really hard. You've got to figure out by learning, by doing. We all know what happens when we kind of put like a young crew on like a unsupervised site. Like it can be quite hard, especially when they're not trained.
Yeah.
Right. So what we think is, that everyone needs a system or someone needs to be held accountable to, right? So are you open to like the team and the guys to actually hold you accountable to get you from 350 to 500, but actually get you the right systems so you can start working less hours?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that we do, right? So really we sit you down, we give you like a financial audit with Coach Leroy, right? So he's going to sit down with you with all the numbers in the business and figure out profits, any way that you can maximize that and really understand your business inside and out. So you're going to fix that part of things. So profits will be maximized, make sure that you're getting the most amount of, profit for the revenue, the gross that you're doing, right? We're going to put you in for an onboarding call with Miranda, right? So she'll basically go ahead and, get you everything that you need so you can kind of get kick-started. So you've got everything that you need so you know exactly where you need to go. And we also have pods, right? So after the first 2 months, we have trade-specific pods where you're basically going to be put in a community of other guys and girls that, run these types of businesses, and ones that are specific more towards your industry, right? Yeah. You're going to have, people that are actually doing what you're doing. You can relate, you can learn off of. And I think it's a great networking tool as well, because people that are in the similar industry to you across Australia, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, like, we're not here to be your friend, because, we're here to hold you all your staff accountable to actually doing what needs to be done to get the business to the next level, but also to prepare you for, later down the line this year, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So with that, like, level of accountability, like, are you like open to me holding you, or I guess the rest of the team, to kind of holding you to that standard again?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So with everything there, do you feel like if you had the right systems, you have people telling you exactly what you need to do, right, from people who work with industries like yourself,
yep.
Do you feel like that could be maybe what you're looking for?
Yeah, sure.
But why do you feel like it might be, though?
Just because I feel a bit lost at the moment. I can't quite work it out by myself, so I was hoping people who have been through this before would be able to shed light on where I'm going wrong and what I need to do to help fix it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I suppose that's the main reason.
Perfect, man. Well, look, I would say, I don't really have too much else to go over with you.
Yeah.
Look, we covered the basis of what you're kind of looking for, and systemizing the business, actually getting some outside help, and actually getting to where you want to go. All right. So really the next step, if it'd be appropriate, man, is really what we do is we make some type of arrangement for your actual onboarding, right? We use like a credit card or a Visa debit card, right? We just process the 2,500. And then from that point, I'll send out like an agreement for you to authorize the next day or so, right? So you can look at that in your own time. Then introduce you to your coach and get you in the onboarding, so we can get you everything that you possibly need, because time is of the essence, right? Because the child's coming at the end of the year, so we need to make sure that we're building everything out we can, right?
Yep.
So you can actually start working less hours and actually making more money and getting the growth that you actually want. Okay.
Yep.
Would that make sense?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So just for the form here where we kind of just take the payment, right? So just want to make sure, confirm a couple of details with you.
Yep.
So to get you started for like the onboarding and everything like that, all it is today is just 2,500, and then we just put you over like the 12 months. Okay.
Right.
Now,
I don't have my credit card on me at the minute. Can I give you a call back later and pay for that then?
yeah, that's not an issue. No worries at all. Where is it? Does like your staff have it or?
No, it's in my car that's getting serviced.
Yeah, no, that's not an issue at all. That's no worries. So what I can do is, you don't have like a photo of it anywhere on your phone?
No, I've only got the. Hang on a second. Yeah, no, I've only got that on like a phone thing for you to tap on the job, but apart from that, I don't have it.
Yeah, no, that's not an issue. So what I'll do is, if it makes sense with you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit of like onboarding information now, right? And besides that, and then we can just rectify that later in the day if that works.
Yeah.
Cool. So just while I'm getting that, when do you get your car back from the service?
I'll have it back later on the Savo, like 3 o'clock or something like that.
Okay, that's easy. I can make myself available around, let's see, around 5 o'clock. Would that work?
That'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I'll just put it in here. Cool. So I just want to grab some stuff. So just to confirm, so a bit of onboarding information. So let me just confirm. So first name, last.
Yeah.
What's the date of birth? And then your email, just confirm that one again.
I'll use my work email now. Yeah.
Awesome. And your phone number, just confirm that again. Cool. No worries. And then let's see here. Okay. So the other stuff. So what was your actual company name? And do you know what your ABN is?
No.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I might have a card here. Hang on a second.
Yep.
No.
Okay. We can figure that out maybe like later on today. That's not an issue.
Yeah, I'll have all that stuff with me when I'm there. When you call me back.
Yeah, that'll be easy. And you got a website?
Yeah.
What's the URL? Cool. And street address? And then New South Wales.
Yeah.
Postal code? And obviously Australia. And where did you opt in, brother? Was it Facebook, Instagram? Where'd you come from?
I think I come from Instagram.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Okay, so that'll be all I'll need for now. We can just collect the rest of the stuff to get you onboarded at 5. Between now and then, is there anything else you need from me before we have a chat at 5?
So would you be able to just send me an email with what's involved, like with what we're going to get for the monthly amount that we're paying, like that stuff exactly right. In writing?
Yeah, exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even once I process your first payment as well, like we'll send out like a full like agreement for you to look over, and then you can authorize that in the next like day or so.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right, sweet. All right, so I'll shoot that across, and then yeah, we can just I'll give you a ring at 5. Would that work?
Yeah, that should be fine. The internet and everything will be back on by then, so I should be able to do everything properly then.
Okay, no, that's easy. I'll just give you a call through this number. That should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will all the meetings in the future be Zoom meetings and things like that, or will any?
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, the rest of the meetings with the rest of the team and like the coaching sessions and all that kind of stuff will mostly be on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to learn how to use that.
Yeah, don't worry, brother. I'll help you. It's okay. The two tech guys over here. No, that's cool. All right, so all good. I'll send you that stuff over, and then I can just give you a ring at 5. Okay.
Mhm. That'll be
No
fine.
worries. I'll speak to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Connor.
Thanks. Bye now.